Hey everyone, are you ready to plant some onions? Well, in today's video, we are going to plant 4 different kinds of onions. Now here in Zone 8, our first frost date is estimated to be around April the 3rd. I've already started planting some onions. It's not too late, but you really need to get started. I started planting these last month. These are Walla Walla onions, and they are doing just great. I planted them using the soil block method. But in today's video, I'm going to plant some onions in these seed trays here. But before I get started, if you haven't had a chance to subscribe to my channel, now's a good time to click that subscribe button, click that notification bell, and that way you can be notified of any new videos I have posted. So I have the Walla Walla onions. These are the long day onions. And then I have the sweet white Spanish onions. These are also long day onions. Then I have the candied onions, and these are intermediate day onions. And finally, I have the red burgundy onions, and these are short day onions. So you're probably wondering, what is the difference between the long day onions, the intermediate day onions, and then the short day onions? I'm just going to briefly go over it a little bit. I did do a video on giving more detail about the long day, intermediate, and short day onions, and I'll put a link below so that you can watch it if you like. Onions need a certain amount of daylight in order to form bulbs, and that's where the long day, intermediate, and the short day comes in. For instance, the long day onions like the Walla Wallas and the sweet Spanish onions, they need at least 14 to 15 hours of sunlight in order to form bulbs. And then the candy onion, which is an intermediate day onion, needs at least 12 to 14 hours of daylight in order to form bulbs. And the red burgundy onion needs at least 10 hours of daylight in order to form bulbs. Now, I've never had trouble with the Walla Walla onions. They've done really well growing for me here in Zone 8. And the same for the sweet white Spanish onions. This will be my first time growing the candied onions, which is the intermediate. The short day onions, of course, they did well. So I really want to plant more of the candied onions. And the reason I say I want to plant more of the candied onion is because I found that they actually store longer than the Walla Wallas. The Walla Walla onions will store up to about 6 weeks, maybe longer if you store them under the right conditions. But the candied onions can store anywhere from up to 6 months. And then the short day onions can store anywhere from 1 to 3 months. So it all depends on how you store them. That will help them to last longer. So I thought a different variety of storage options would be great. That way I can use the ones that will last for a short while first and then move on to the longer storage onions. Now when it comes to onions, I don't like direct sowing my onions into the garden. I found that it's more beneficial for me to plant them in seed trays, soil blocks, or whatever, them out at the right time and know that I have onions coming up. Now when it comes to planting onions, you have so many options. You can plant them in soil blocks like I did right here. You can plant them in seed trays, and when I plant them in seed trays, I like to plant at least 5 seeds in each cell. And I've also planted onions in those, those little containers that you can get salad from the grocery store, the little plastic containers. I've grown onions in that, and they did very well. I just have to make sure that you have holes under the bottom of any container that you're going to be using so that your water can drain out. So make sure that whatever container you get has drainage hose. Now here I don't have drainage hose in the soil blocks because usually I just pour some water on the sides here and water them, and the onion plants just wick up the water. Any excess water that's left over, I try to pour it out. So that works well. I'm going to get started, and I'm going to put my soil in my seed trays here. I've already moistened my soil. If you plant your seeds too deep, what's going to happen is your seeds may rot, because by the time they reach, it takes the time it takes for them to grow to the top of the soil, they may rot out and die. So here's what I did. I just filled it, not all the way up, but partial way up. And I left some room because I'm going to put the seeds on top, and then I'm going to sprinkle some soil on top, and I'll show you. So I'm going to plant 2 trays of candied onions. I'm going to plant 1 of the Walla Wallas, 1 of the sweet Spanish onions, and then 1 of the red burgundy onions. So I like to mark them. Normally I have the little sticks, but can't find them, so I'm going to write it on the outside, and I'm going to tape it. Because I like to water my plants from the bottom. When they start growing, you won't be able to tell which is which, so it's best to write the name of the plants down before you start planting the seeds. Because if you're like me, you are going to get them mixed up. You're going to forget whether you planted sweet Spanish onions here or Walla Wallas there. So be sure and write it down. Now I want to go back and mention the soil, because it's very important, the soil that you use to grow your onions. Any seed starting mix should be just fine to use when it comes to starting your seeds. You just want to make sure that it's loose and that it has good drainage to it, and not a lot of sticks and woody pieces in it, because this will help your seeds to really germinate well. So I'm just going to go ahead on and plant my sweet Spanish onions first. Sweet white Spanish onions. I'll show you what the seeds look like here. Oops. So this is what the seeds look like. They all look similar to each other. So every pack of seeds, onion seeds that I have, are going to look just like this. And what I like to do is I like to make sure that my soil is nice and level, so that when I plant about 4 or 5 seeds in there, I know that they won't be like, they'll be kind of spaced out a little bit, and they won't be sitting right on top of each other. So I think I'm going to plant about 6 in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I got 6 onion seeds in here, and I'm going to use 6 all the way through. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, and these cells are big enough where you can really probably get more than that, but I think I'll just stay with 6 seeds. And that'll give me, if all of them germinate, that'll give me about 36 onion plants. And it's so super easy to separate these onion seeds once they grow up. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill it all the way up. And I'll come and see if you can, I'll try to lift it up so you can see some of them. Raise it up. I don't know if you can see some of those black specks in there. So next I'm just going to go through and just sprinkle a little bit of soil on top of each one of them. So as I mentioned earlier, if you plant them too deep with too much soil on top, then they may rot, because it's going to take so long for them to make it to the top of the soil. If you plant them too shallow, then they may not germinate. So you want to use just a little bit of soil. And usually they say about, what, 1/4 of an inch deep is how you want to plant these onion seeds. So then I'm just going to kind of pat it down so that they can adhere to the soil a little bit more. Let me just put a little bit more there. Just firmly press them down. Now I am going to take my little water bottle here, and I'm going to just spray them lightly with this water here. If you don't have those plastic domes, this will be the next option that you can use. I always have trouble trying to cut this. Whoops. So then what you do is you put the wrap over it, secure it down, and I think this will work. Kind of pinch it around the edges, and this is going to hold in moisture. And the moment your plants start to germinate, so when half of these start germinating, then you want to take the soil off, the plastic off, okay? So I'm going to sit this one to the side, and I'm going to plant the rest of them. So this is just how easy it is to plant onion seeds. Now when they get to be about maybe 2 to 3 inches in height, you can give them some fertilizer. I like to give mine a fish emulsion fertilizer. There's all kinds of fertilizers on the market that you can use. It has to be a liquid fertilizer because you don't want to add any type of granular fertilizer to your seedlings. It should always be some type of liquid fertilizer. Be sure and read the directions on the emulsion. Give it a weakened strength of the fertilizer. So whatever you use, you want to make sure that it is a weakened strength, because you don't want it to be too strong and injure your plants. And when you do water your onions, just sit them in a pan where the water can't drain out, and bottom water them with some of the liquid fish emulsion, and they will wick it up the plants and take in what they need. And if you have any excess left in the bottom, you can maybe add it to another plant or something that you have. I find that lots of times that green algae type stuff starts growing around it on the top of it, and so if you bottom water your plants, it's more healthier for your plants anyway to water them from the bottom. But now if they are little and small, you might want to just add a little bit of water to the top. Can spray it, but when they get bigger and start developing their root system, then you can water them from the bottom. And when it comes to fertilizing your onion plants, I like to fertilize mine at least every other week. Some people do it once a week. I like to do mine every other week. It's fine if you want to do it every week. So thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.